Star Trek 57, M23, take 2.
Star Trek podcast.
I had hatched a plan to borrow a shuttle.
You mean steal?
No, borrow a shuttle to return to Argelius briefly to...
Get laid?
Hey, we had an invitation. Anyway, on our way back, a micrometeoroid shower hit the shuttle at high speed. It wrecked us. Instantly, we were blind, powerless, and running out of air. We couldn't contact the ship because...
You disabled the comms before you left, so they didn't know that you borrowed it.
We were dead in the water. But we improvised a system, swapped the remaining power between docking thrusters and life support. And we inched our way home. No sensors, no visuals. 10 fucking grueling hours. He and I in sync, though. Him navigating, me firing the thrusters, simply hoping until finally we were home.
Okay, Star Trek podcast. It's got Star Trek.
That's what we're doing.
This is the beginning of the It's Got Star Trek podcast.
Yep.
This is the one where we discuss the episode where Beverly solves the mystery, as usual.
Mm-hmm.
And Jesse has some... Jesse's been added to the soundboard device. So, okay. Warning. Okay, let's try to get let's try to get this back on track. We've just barreled into this business.
Delightful and enthusiastic.
Okay, so this is the It's Got Star Trek podcast.
Mm-hmm.
This is episode 175 of the podcast. Nothing particularly.
Wait a minute. Goddamn right I did.
Right?
Yes, and there's
shit.
and there's
My
nothing.
count is off.
There's what did you think? It was 174?
I'm afraid to say that is yes.
No, that was last week. This is 175, which is
It had to have been last week.
simultaneously a number of no particular
Gadzooks.
significance, but yet it feels round. We've been socialized to feel that 75s and 50s and things like that have a roundness to them. I'm not sure if
Because we have quarters.
Dan agrees on that or not.
I mean, it's sort of a
Other countries don't have 25 cents.
it's a bit of socialization and a bit of mathematics. It's a combination.
Okay, that's a fair point.
It's interpreted. I mean, the math is interpreted in a way that math isn't meant to be interpreted. It just is, and so people
bet there's some aliens that don't give a fuck about.
No, I'm sure
25.
I'm positive there are.
Yeah.
But it's like we're all about base 10.
They're gonna be all they'll be all 3-ish.
Well, there could be aliens
3-ish.
whose math works a different way.
Right. So that's why I'm saying like we're about base 10, and so 25 works out nicely in a base 10 system. That's why I say.
Yeah, it's like 2.5 tens.
It is a social construct, but it's not based upon just nothing. It has an influence rooted in some kind of structure.
Yes. Okay, so it's got math. It's got Star Trek number 175, and we are discussing
Picard.
Star Trek Picard season 3, episode 4. No-win scenario. So that's the one we're discussing today.
So Beverly...
But was it really a no-win scenario?
We can get to that.
So Beverly like you said, Beverly solves a mystery, but actually that wasn't even a big part of the episode. It was just kind of like the looming sort of backdrop.
Well, it was the thing that saved them.
It was the thing that saved him, but for the thing that saved him, it had a very small amount of screen time.
But, yes, 100% correct. Absolutely agree with that. What I think is great about the writing in this is that it took so little screen time, but you're like, ooh, Beverly's on to something. And you're like, what is it? And you're worried all about all this other stuff and the changeling and the zoops and the zaps and the emotional journeys.
She's just
but the
sitting
whole
there
time,
counting
she's
down
all counting down. You're like, she's going to solve the problem.
Did you notice the first time she counted down, it was like when 7 of 9 was in that room, like trying to find the shapeshifter, and like after Riker told her to find the shapeshifter, and she was like gonna go find the shapeshifter, and then you heard Beverly's voice over top of an image of 7, and she started at the number 7.
Yeah,
She was like 7,
I did hear that actually.
6,
yes.
I did
5.
I did
and it
not.
was over
'Cause
the
for a
top of
minute,
7 of 9.
For a minute, I was
like
like, wait.
that.
Oh, and then it's like, oh, and
I
then she's
like
counting
that.
down.
Yeah,
I like that.
counting from 7.
Okay, well, okay, so that's the It's Got Star Trek podcast. That's the episode we're talking about. I thought it was a pretty excellent, super duper excellent episode.
Yeah, it was. I'm
maybe
so,
the best episode of Picard.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah,
yet.
I'm saying like I'm gonna,
There's a few things.
I know I was when I was gonna
There's a few nitpicks.
what I was gonna say is I'm feeling pretty confident so far in this season. Like I was feeling better.
This is an exciting season.
I was feeling better every episode. The first episode,
Yeah.
I was totally skeptical just because like I didn't want to. I was just like,
Because you've been hurt in the
I've
past.
been hurt in the past. No.
Were you hurt by the past?
No, it's
season?
not that I was gonna expect it to be bad. It's just I was waiting to see what would happen, and so far, like it seems to be my favorite
Well,
season.
all three of us to varying degrees.
and that, of course, it does have the old cast, which definitely
Yeah.
plays something into it.
all three of us to varying degrees with seasons 1 and 2 we enjoyed, but felt that they sort of got a little wayward and a little confusing at the end. And so it felt like it didn't entirely pay off the stuff that was happening at the beginning.
Yeah.
I do agree with you. I get a different vibe this season. They've already done a whole storyline with a crescendo and a denouement in just these 4 episodes. And now it's like on to the next stage kind of deal.
Yeah. So yeah, what's gonna happen next?
So
know,
it's
it's
movies
exciting.
clipping along. It's pretty cool.
the world on fire.
Fire.
Shaw is great. There is
Good. I'm glad that Shaw's like playing a part. Like they didn't just push him to the side after the second. I was worried they were going to start pushing him to the side, and the fact that he came back this
And
episode.
the
I was
reason you were
happy.
worried is because in season 1 and 2, that happened to some
Yeah,
characters.
right.
We're like, oh, this character's great.
Yeah.
I wonder what's going to happen next
Yeah.
week. Oh, nothing. Nothing's going to happen.
Yeah,
They're
right.
gone.
Right. And I was worried that was starting to happen, but then they brought him back, and they gave him, and they did the thing where where he's with the Borg and the stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was a wolf.
Okay. Well, let's.
Don't come.
Wolf
Don't
359.
come.
Okay. So,
They're goo people.
yes, the goop. Okay, don't shoot your wad too
Okay.
quickly here. All right?
I know, right? Save it up, dude.
You got a lot
Save
of-
some for later.
A lot of audio clips, and this week, Jesse has hooked his device into the soundboard, so he's going to be competing with Dan
This is the end, my friend.
and adding, not competing, laying a musical undergirdment.
Setting the
Incidental
world
music.
on fire.
Every good podcast requires a certain melodic undergirdment. Do you not agree?
Undergirdment.
Goddamn right I did.
He knows about that shit.
Okay. Yes. Why don't we just start with the Beverly business? Beverly, she did solve the problem. She wasn't the one to come up with the final solution. That's not the phrase I wanted to use.
no.
With the ultimate
should ever use that.
resolution, she solved the mystery that led to the classic Star Trek style teamwork problem
Yeah,
solving.
absolutely. Yeah.
Which felt nice and warm and fuzzy.
Yeah.
And she also
They didn't even have Geordi or Data. They still did it.
and then she used some science to figure out what the deal was.
She's always
Energy
using
is
science.
mathematical
She's a
logarithmic.
science officer.
Energy is mathematical logarithmic.
Oh, that sounds
keep
pretty good.
talking
Mathematical logarithmic.
Energy is mathematical logarithmic.
Can you
Mathematical
do a
logarithmic.
song with that?
Yeah, can you make it go?
Energy is
Can you
energy
cook
is
out some
energy is
beats?
energy
Yeah,
is
we're-
energy is mathematical logarithmic.
You almost
Energy
got it.
energy is energy is energy is energy is mathematical logarithmic.
Energy.
Jesse, what's going on over there?
I'm making a song.
I know, but you got an instrument that you could be playing. You can make your mouth music too.
Make your mouth music.
There's no rules on this. I mean, there are rules on this podcast.
The world
That's not
on
one.
fire.
Yeah. Yes. Beverly. Okay, we're doing our best here. folks.
So energize. That was a weird line. I'm sure it's accurate. It's just a weird. Energy is mathematical logarithm. That's how they knew it was like not based. It was. They knew their hint that it was a life form was that it was not logarithmic. As what I'm drawing from that statement. When she said energy is mathematical.
I'm confused because
When she said
there are lots of
Energy
things
is
that
mathematical logarithmic.
she was meaning that it was a life form because the math, if it was a mathematical rhythm, it would follow a logarithmic pattern. Is what I was saying. The waves shooting out.
Okay, I'm
and
confused.
she's saying
Was she saying it must be life because it's logarithmic, or
because it's not logarithmic.
but lots of things in
'Cause it's
life
based
are
on pi.
logarithmic, like the order of branches and leaves
No,
growing.
but
are
that's
logarithmic.
right. That's how we know that it's not like a life form. The reason it's not a life form with a free will and all that stuff, the reason she thinks it's based off of patterns, mathematical patterns, is because it's logarithmic.
No, I thought it was just the difference between alive and not alive.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think I just said the same thing.
No, but I thought you were saying that you could be alive but not have free will. Anyway, I'm sorry.
I
I'm
wasn't
overthinking.
No, I wasn't going that deep.
Okay.
What you said was more quick and to the point. Yes, the difference between alive and not alive. Thank you. That's much more clear.
But as is tradition on this podcast, we want to provide multiple menu options for our listeners, both the sort of pithy and concise version and a lengthy, potentially, quite probably confusing version.
Setting the world on fire!
Usually I'm the one with the long, confusing version.
Yeah. So anyways, yes, it's not alive if it follows a logarithmic pattern, and because it doesn't follow that, it's alive. That's what I got from it. Does anyone agree?
No.
No one agrees?
I think it's I think lots of things that are alive have logarithmic patterns. That's why I was
But then why did
confused.
she say it? She must have I'm just saying what the reason she said what she said.
I think the writers didn't necessarily know what
I'm
they
not
were
saying I'm
talking about.
asserting that. I'm saying that that's what she was trying to say.
There were a couple other examples. I mean, I can't vouch for that. I don't exactly remember the line, and who knows exactly. But
well, I can play the line.
Energy is mathematical logarithmic.
yeah, but the rest of the line,
the rest
for the
of it,
context,
dude.
because I'm not clear if she's trying to say something's alive
Okay.
because it's logarithmic. That's one thing. If
This-
she's saying it's
teasing
not
us.
alive
She
because
goes-
it's
teasing
logarithmic.
us.
She
with
goes,
this.
it's drawing in matter and expelling energy, which means somewhere in its center, it is reconstituting the matter it consumes into energy.
Okay.
But energy is mathematical, logarithmic. But the increasing intensity and narrowing frequency of the waves implies something else.
Okay, it's a technobabble, and I'm.
But that's it.
It's
I
also
think,
like medical babble.
but it's babble. But that's what she's basically saying is we know it's alive because it's not following a logarithmic function. That's what she's trying to say. I'm not saying it's
there's a lot
inaccurate.
that's old school Star Trek in this particular episode, as well as this season of Picard, which I'm enjoying. It has a nostalgic flavor to it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll put this as one of those gobbledygook things. That's
Yes,
like,
it was. Yes,
little
yeah,
bit,
yeah, it was
little bit.
gobbledygook.
if we try too hard to make sense of it, our brains will fall out.
Yeah.
I think it already happened.
This is the end, my friend.
Another one of my very few extremely minor gripes, because I know this has been discussed thoroughly on the internet,
Thoroughly.
is
Thoroughly.
Has it been
they've been
rotisserie?
a few changes to the changeling lore that are easily
They're goo people.
yes, the goo people.
Walking, talking clay dough.
Play-Doh.
They are
You can't say Play-Doh. You have to pay
these
a-
changes
Yeah, I
are
was thinking that.
are easily explained away with some sort of a headcanon, but I think there's headcanon, then there's headcanon. And
Plasma cannon.
one thing I didn't like, and it was
Yeah,
in
that's
last
funny.
episode as well. I forget if I mentioned this last week because I noted it last week, but in this week it was more acute because it was stated outright.
He's more cute.
This idea that
for cute.
changelings have to sleep in a bucket
Residue.
They're goo people.
to regenerate.
Right.
On Deep Space Nine, Odo did that for a while until he met some other changelings and learned
Walking, talking.
that he can actually just
Play-Doh.
kind of, as long as he's changing into lots of different things, if he can like float around as goo, he can be a mist, he can do all these other things. The regeneration is more about changing into different things and occasionally being goo or whatever floating around, but it doesn't, you don't have to have a bucket.
They're goo people.
So that's point number one. Point number,
Pot.
but again, you can
Steal their pots.
You can say, okay, actually,
seems like it left a lot of goo residue behind.
that
Residue?
too.
Residue.
But I think I'm fine with that. The other thing that was slightly aggravating was the changeling's bucket being identical to Odo's bucket, or very similar. Odo got that, but that's a Bajoran bucket that Odo got.
I was
from his-
skeptical
from his
about how
adopted
it was
dad.
a uniform shape.
Right.
And why is it like you're gonna be
cultural
you're gonna be like a changeling spy, but you have to like hand carry a bucket around with you to all your spy things?
Right.
And
You would
have-
just you would find like a plant.
and then you hide it in the worst hiding place in the
In
room,
some
like,
lights, so you
behind
can
the
found
light
it. You
fixture.
found it really
she found it
fast.
because it was the only thing casting a shadow because it was behind a thing that was
Behind
lit
a
up.
light. I'm
It's
gonna
like,
hide it in the
look
light
at all these
shade.
light things that you can see through. Oh, let's put it right in the middle of one of them so they can see
The
through it and tell
bucket-shaped
right there.
thing.
You know, I still
It's like a packlet hitting
packlids. Packlids are whack lids. I still find it irreverent and disrespectful, even though Odo says it. He calls it a bucket. It shouldn't be a bucket.
Sometimes he called it a pail.
I don't even know what's his worse.
Kira eventually gave him some.
It's more old school.
Some plant to put into.
Like,
it.
when you don't call an urn a jar. You don't say like I put my ashes in a jar. You put
How
them in
about
an
an
urn.
amphora?
Oh yeah, amphora. Amphora. You call it an amphora, but call it a magical word. That's magical Star Trek word, like a.
But it's in
like a
A Klingon amphora.
Chlorimbus. A Chlorimpus.
It sounds more like
You can put him in an old gawk barrel.
A gawk barrel.
Okay.
Barrel.
Here's why I disagree.
With the bucket?
I disagree with the lack of it being a lack of reverence because it fits with Odo's personality. First of all, Odo was the only one who had a bucket, and Odo called it a bucket or a pail because he was not ostentatious.
So he was the only one who had a bucket. That wasn't a common thing among Odos.
Now, Terry Matalis and others, I think, online when responding to this question have said, "Oh, yeah, Odo is." Everyone thinks he's cool, so everyone starts like hanging out with a bucket or something. I forget exactly if he said that or somebody else said that. I don't know. The point is yes, you can come up with something. I found it a little annoying, and partly I think why I found it annoying was you put in a Deep Space Nine reference, and I mean they've got tons of them this season, but you put in a Deep Space Nine reference that is going to aggravate a lot of Deep Space Nine fans who know the lore about Odo and his bucket.
Odo and his bucket.
And
Odo and his bucket.
the fans who don't know about Deep Space Nine aren't going to give a fuck about the bucket.
Right.
Even if you say that changelings use a bucket for convenience, it doesn't have to look exactly like Odo's bucket. Am I right?
They showed Odo's bucket like twice or something.
Yeah. And they had it was cool to see Odo's dossier picture when they were showing the bucket, and then it had like Odo's picture at the bottom. Because I don't know, maybe he made the file or something.
Oh, I missed that. I told him.
Yeah, good old Rene Bourgeois.
Right.
Anyway, very, very minor nitpick. It just, that one did pop out a little bit. A little bit at me.
Yeah, also, and maybe this has already been answered, but like, I guess shapeshifters have gotten better at emulating human faces.
They were always good at emulating human faces, just Odo wasn't.
No, because if you look
He couldn't even do a Bajoran face.
What's her name?
And she did that when she was talking with Odo because she said it made him. She probably wanted
Whatever,
to make him
you're
feel more
making shit up.
She just looked like Odo.
If you watch Deep Space Nine, you don't remember the many characters that perfectly mimicked Dr. Bashir and General Martok. See, you know I'm right. You know I'm right. Now you're being all playful.
Come on. Damn.
All right.
Fucking
That's the first time that dude said that word, right?
Yeah, as far as I know.
Captain Picard in record.
Yeah.
In the
pretty intense.
The record.
I don't. He might have said it in that Logan movie, but I don't know where else.
I mean, Patrick. I've heard Patrick Stewart say "fuck" a lot.
Yeah, Patrick Stewart, not Jean.
That guy's got a dirty mouth.
I'm sure he does. Dude.
When Seven was shooting the shapeshifter guy,
say that 5 times fast.
Seven was shooting when Seven was shooting shapeshifter. So
Jesse, that's where you should be banging on your music.
So when she shot at Sydney, why didn't she just like stun him? Like that would. Why did she have to kill it? And second of all,
Sydney,
who?
When Sydney was the shapeshifter, or the shapeshifter was Sydney. Remember when Seven shot her?
I've lost track of whether or not this is some sort of vaudeville gag.
No, it's not. It's not. Let me just look at what we're saying. So let's focus. For
Sydney
a second.
LaForge.
Yes.
Oh.
Okay, you're talking about the scene towards the ends of the episode. Sydney LaForge.
Yes.
The fake Sydney LaForge.
Yeah.
they're goo people.
That she when Seven shot her and killed the shapeshifter.
Yeah.
Why didn't she just put it on stun? That way she wouldn't even had to guess if it was Sydney LaForge.
Well,
she should have just put it on stun and zapped anyone who came in.
Anyone who came in was going to be the shapeshifter.
Yes.
So
yes,
she could have just stunned the shapeshifter then.
But she knew, I think, with quite a high degree of certainty that she was shapeshifter. And last time
Maybe
she
it's
shot
not the
on,
only shapeshifter.
on the
That's
stun
good.
setting,
That's a good point.
the shapeshifter escaped.
It splooted into the wall.
Yeah.
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 Walking, talking,
Maybe there's another one.
Play-Doh.
Play-Doh. Okay. Next topic of conversation. Picard and the younglings interrupting his lunch.
Oh yeah,
that
was great.
Right. So the order of that was
It looks like a nice restaurant, doesn't it?
That was 10 forward.
So basically, what happens is
Looks like a weird 10
a bunch
Yeah.
of crew people, lower deckers. They come up to ask for shit. First of all, they should know better than that. You don't fucking like just harass like some.
And
senior
this is in
officer.
fucking Los Angeles.
Yeah, and even
You know that because is it in San Francisco or Los Angeles? I thought it was Los Angeles.
They were all up ons, weren't they?
Well, I mean, people generally know you're not supposed to harass celebrities, but they do it anyways.
Yeah.
But this is a situation where pretend you knew the celebrity and you had a bunch of people with you that also knew. It's just like you wouldn't. I don't know. That's not quite a great comparison. Point being
a
is
wall of people
Yeah.
encountering a lone elderly man
trying to
sitting
eat
in
his
a booth
fucking haddock
when
like,
it was just put in front of him.
Yeah, right.
And how many stories did he tell before he started? He was like, I gotta start
So,
eating this haddock
I have
because
it-
it's already cold.
I have this down. So first they come up and ask for shit, and they're like, "Tell us a story."
Yeah.
And he's like, "No, I don't wanna."
Right.
And then,
I don't like to
so
tell
that should have been enough right there. But then they're like, "Oh, but you're so cool, and I want and I need things from you. I need you.
There's so many of us.
You're my senior officer, but I need you, and I need to take from you." And so he's like, "Okay, fine." Then he's like, "Go blah 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 blah. Tell him the story. Tell him the story."
He got to like Darmok and July.
And then he's like, "I told."
Metaphor.
Then he's like, "I told you that shit. I told you some shit. Now let me eat." And they're
I gotta
like,
eat my fucking fish.
and then they're like, "No, I need more." Then he's like, talks about some more shit, and he's like, "Yeah, well, okay, fine. I did some really silly things." This is talking about hijacking the shit with Jack.
yeah.
And then,
Which we got to talk about that in a little bit more detail.
and then finally he's back. He's like, "This is
Hijack.
the second time he has to say, now back to my fucking dinner."
I know.
And at that point, Jack comes by, and he's understandable, but I'm surprised Picard didn't say "fuck off" because
I could have had 3 glasses
because he
of
just
wine
had some
the whole
fucking,
time.
he said some schmucky kid in the back going, "Admiral, you're a lonely asshole."
Admiral, hey Admiral, did you ever have any other family?
I'm the guy in the
that's what he should have sounded
baseball
like.
cap.
He should have
Nobody else
sounded
is
like that
wearing
because it was 5 years before. He should have been 16, 17 years old.
I know.
So anyways, Picard ended up just being like, "No, I'm not a lonely asshole.
17, 18.
I'm
I
not
was 18 or 19.
I'm not a lonely asshole.
Starfleet kicks ass, kid.
Starfleet's awesome. Yum 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 clap clap.
Starfleet's the only family I ever needed.
Yes.
That's what he said.
Yeah, I know.
And that guy was like, I'm fucking out of here.
It's a classic gag. Classic hidden child
You are
gag.
never, ever without hope.
Never, ever.
Lieutenant Commander Worf. Lieutenant Commander Worf.
A few more times, perhaps.
That kid was like the
Lieutenant
only guy
Commander Worf.
in the 24th century wearing a baseball cap.
Locutus of Borg.
Chief
Borg.
O'Brien?
Chief O'Brien.
Chief O'Brien?
Locutus of Borg.
Lieutenant Commander Worf.
I liked the framing of using that flashback as framing a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Not 100%. I got what they were doing. I got what they were doing. I think it worked well.
Oh, by the way,
there's just a lot of telling stories in this, and some of those stories are in the past, and some of those stories in the present, but they're also in 10 forward. So,
By the way, this episode began with 5 years ago. Before it was 2 weeks ago, and then it was like
last week was just before.
Is
Before-
this some kind of like
just said
newer
before.
10 forward? Because that's not
No,
the 10
it's
forward
that's
from
the original.
No,
Disney.
that's
It's the original.
that's Guinan's
We just
10
answered
forward
that.
in Los Angeles.
we already went over that.
Guinan's
We already
10
went
Was it
over
Los
that.
Angeles or San Francisco?
Oh
I
my
always
God.
forget where.
I think it's LA, yes.
I think it's LA.
You guys
right?
are amped up.
Hey.
No, we're not. We're just doing
I
regular
am
old
chilling, sir.
chill podcast as we've advertised.
It's just
before.
no, it's fine. I'm just noticing that it's a lot. It's a lot more. The energy is at a higher level tonight. It's a little
Do
bit
you
more.
think-
It was a very awesome episode.
Everybody is talking all over each other, all over the place.
I think, Jesse, Dan thinks that we had too much podcasting juice. He may be correct.
See, I knew it.
I've had the same
I
amount of
don't- I
podcasting
don't
juice
think
that
we've
I
had
always...
extra podcasting.
I'm assuming you're not referring to cannabis.
No, because I've had the right amount of cannabis. Come on.
You're goddamn right about that. Snake leaf.
No, I think Snake League is different because they've proved that they refer to it differently.
I just noticed that everyone seems like they're in their own pod tonight.
That's our new thing. It's a new technology, a new podcasting technology that we're trying out, where we have 3 different podcasts going on at the same time.
Yeah, I know, because we're not. It doesn't
With a
seem like
a little bit of
it
overlap.
doesn't seem like we're bouncing off each other. It seems like we're just kind of talking.
Clashing into
So
each other.
let's try to do some bouncing. What's a good way to bounce?
I don't know.
Just bounce with me. Just bounce with me.
Well, anyway, so now it's back to present day again.
Yes.
Which is March 10th.
They're floating in space.
March 10th, 2023 is present day, whereas 2 weeks ago it was February 23rd, 2023 was present day.
Yes, this is where you're you're assuming that the actual real life date. Although wouldn't it be was it March? It was March 9th that it came out, wasn't it?
2 weeks ago.
No. Yesterday was March 9th. No, yes.
Okay,
The day the show
But I
aired
didn't
was
put
March 9th.
Yeah, but the time I wrote this note, it was March 10th.
Oh, that's correct.
Yeah.
So you are arbitrarily basing it off, you're anchoring it off of the first thing as opposed to perhaps waiting and then anchoring it off of a middle thing or an end thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's fine.
This cannot work.
All right. So Riker, I guess, is not a changeling.
No.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
It doesn't seem like he's.
Maybe not.
I mean, it is true.
Well,
It's
unless
like
doing the
unless
old
he's
double-
an extra sneaky.
The double imposter business.
So
Yeah.
here's the thing: is they already had one imposter knock the thing into the nebula. So why would they also have Riker doing that too?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Now I was thinking like maybe Riker is. I was trying to entertain the thought in my head. It's like if Riker was a changeling, maybe he's like a renegade changeling, and he's trying to kill Jack because he knows the other changelings want to take Jack, and he's like, no, they can't get control of Jack because if they do, the whole universe falls apart. So I'm gonna kill Jack. Do that whole deal. I'm gonna kill him. That way I can rebel against my people, and I can prevent them from killing the universe or something. But that seemed like it was far fetched.
Probably not. Yeah.
Yeah, probably not gonna. Not gonna happen.
I do enjoy a television program in which week to week you can develop all sorts of plausible predictions and be surprised when the truth slowly unravels itself.
Yeah, dude.
And thus far it has done so,
It's so exciting.
in a pleasant fashion. It concluded it concluded a lot of the business it started up early in the first episode. A lot of that's been concluded now. Now you can move along home to the next bit of the tale.
Okay, what's the next bit of the tale?
I don't know. I mean, I guess that's what we're going to figure it out.
What have we?
What we know is Vatic is not the main bad person.
What's going on with that?
okay.
Vag?
She's all chopping off her hand.
Some goo in her wrist.
Right, that's good. We're already talking about shapeshifters, so we can continue talking about Vatic. We find
sort of
that's
weirdness going.
yeah. So it's not necessarily a retcon, but it is kind of a new device
Some
that like
sort of
that
sorcery.
they can cut off their goo hand, and somehow it channels the other goo.
She's
So
got a goo hand for goo communiques.
that sounded like a lot of podcast juice right there.
Goo communiques.
Who communicates?
Goo communiques.
Goo
I see.
So like, how is she able to? How is the goo supposed to summon like the spirit of the other goos?
An intrepid person on the internet reached out to Sir Terry Matalas, the showrunner of Star Trek Picard,
Founder of Metalis
on
Prime.
Twitter, and asked him this very question: whether, or actually asked him specifically, is Vatic a changeling, or is she a solid who
Maybe she's a conduit.
who has like her arm chopped off and then like a
Oh.
changeling's all like hanging out on her arm?
Oh, that would be
Or
cool.
what? And he said, no, she's a changeling. All the crew are changelings.
Okay. Well,
Now,
Okay.
now, granted, it's nicer if you can see that in the program and not have to ask the question out in the real world.
right.
But it's fine.
What
It's
is
fine
this
as it does.
real world that you're
It does
talking
introduce some questions, though. If she's a changeling, why is she hanging out in this shape of Amanda Plummer with scars on her face? Why is she seeming to be like that all the time?
Didn't this sound like her at the beginning of Pulp Fiction?
No.
Yeah.
Does it kind of sound like at the table?
Yeah.
She's like, no.
Yeah.
She go, no.
She was going into that.
I don't know how she was. I don't even know what she was. What was she saying? She was saying, no, I don't want to hurt it. She's like, I don't want to
Yeah,
kill
I don't
anybody.
wanna
or
kill
something.
anybody.
Yeah.
There you are.
So why is she always in this form? Okay, it's because she's.
That's what Sound Patrick made. He went, yeah.
So that's a question I have. Question about this whole hand choppy thing.
Hand chops. I hate hand.
Hand chop.
I need a good hand job.
Hand
Oh no.
Hand chop.
Hand chop.
Hand job.
Ham job?
That sounds awful.
What are you talking about? Ham job.
I need a good ham job.
I don't like ham.
Whoa. Sorry.
What the fuck?
I didn't mean to play this.
Is that the name? Is that the ship? Let's just keep
Sounds
going.
like this ship.
Yeah, that was before the scene where she chopped her hand off. This was the sound before the choppy thing came alive.
Oh yeah.
I know. I'm gonna lose my lunch.
I like this part.
Oh, that's a good one. I
So
like that.
next I'll be playing the next.
Oh gosh!
So this is
Oh, it's all over me.
do you want to hear a clip of the goo dude talking?
I do.
All right, goo dude talking.
Report. Pursue. Pursue. It is suicide to refuse. Obtain and deliver the asset. All else is expendable. Your ship. Your people. You.
Goo.
Now here's the sound after he goes. He regooifies. Sorry, I'm just playing it over and over again. Like
You know, I
swooshing.
hadn't noticed that because I was thinking about something. It's almost meditative. It's better than the sound of a Star Trek Starfleet vessel. The low hum of a Starfleet vessel.
There are a lot of interesting sounds. I don't even.
blurp.
I
Blarp.
don't. This sound. I don't even remember where this was from. That was from something.
From my wildest dreams.
Yeah. There's a lot of interesting sounds. Oh, here's the sound of Well, I guess we're jumping around. I mean, well, do you want? What do we
I
want to
think
talk
that's
about?
what we do.
That was enough of the goose stuff. I have more sounds.
Oh, I don't know.
What else
I like
you got,
those
man?
sounds. How
Come
about
on,
this?
lay it
How
on
about
me.
this?
I've got a couple.
It
other
is
sounds.
about time.
Take a break.
It's about time to take a brief break. So how about we take a brief break,
Take a brief break.
and then we physically bounce off of each other for a little bit.
Oh, no.
Which will help us verbally bounce off each other. in the next
Barbally.
2 segments of
Barbally
this
derblies.
podcast program will be chill. We'll be so fucking chill. I can't even fucking believe it. We will be right back.
Jesus.
Dan, you're making me go. I'm trying to come back from the break.
You're trying to what now?
I'm
It's funny.
trying-
It's funny how Dan is like annoyed at us, and he's making us think like we're being extra silly, but it's. I think it's just normal silly.
I don't know. I'm feeling a little bit.
No, I'm trying to come back from the break.
Come.
Yes, exactly. We've come.
Don't come. Don't come.
We're-
Don't come.
we're-
Don't come.
Come. Come. Come.
Don't come. Don't come.
Is this
Come.
like Isn't there some category of pornography that involves
Fucking.
partners telling?
Fucking.
Well, yeah, okay. I think there's a wide variety of pornography that involves
No,
that.
no.
Fucking.
Yes, this was intended to be a throwaway joke about the partners that say you're not allowed to ejaculate. Now you're allowed to ejaculate. I don't remember. I don't know the term.
Who
I
says
forget the
that?
term. There's a term.
Tantric sex?
No, not tantric sex.
Edging?
Boston.
No, everyone knows
Edging.
this.
You're talking about edging.
No,
That's not it.
No,
When you're
not
not-
strictly speaking. No, that although that could be a
The world on fire!
I'm not into that particular. I'm not going to kink shame, but that particular one, I'm not into.
So what are you talking about? You're talking about telling people they can't come and then they can come?
Yes, I stated it slightly more elegantly than that. I said ejaculate instead of come, which actually probably sounds worse, right? That sounds
Yeah,
worse.
it's more onomatopoeic.
Yeah, it's got all these extra syllables. It's making a big deal about such a silly thing. It's like, let's give it a bunch of syllables. Anyway, back to Star Trek. We're back to Star Trek.
Yeah,
It's time to talk about Star
We had
Trek.
a break, and now we're getting back to business.
Took
My
a
father
break.
is Geordie LaForge, decorated Starfleet engineer, legend.
Legend.
You know, even when she's a
I would have zapped her right there.
She's a pilot.
even
I would
when,
have zapped her right
even
there.
when she's a shapeshifter, she still can't shut up about her dad.
She never talked about her dad before.
Yeah, she
Because
does.
she's a phony.
She was. That's all she was doing before. Was talking about her fucking dad. She was like talking
No.
to. She was like 7. I understand what you're going through because my dad is Geordie LaForge, and she's like, this sounds rehearsed. And then before she was like, Geordie
yeah.
LaForge is my dad. I'm so crazy.
My dad always
and then,
said.
Okay, I don't quite remember that
and then,
line.
and then Riker's like, your dad's Geordie LaForge, and she's like, get the fuck out of my face with that shit. No, she didn't say that.
Yes, certainly some of that sounds right on the money. Some of the other stuff I'll have to double check. No offense intended.
Speaking of Vatican, you want to hear a sound of a meteor to the face?
A meaty ear to the face.
Yes,
a meaty ear to the face.
Meteor.
meteor to the face.
A meteor.
Cut the beam.
There's some interesting sounds in this show.
Totally.
They got the good sound.
Was that when they
got
sent
the
the
good sound
asteroid at the
stuff.
Shrike?
Yeah,
They're doing the good
was-
sound.
they
that
called
was
it.
tight.
They called it a meteor.
Yeah.
They're making the sounds all
I
really
don't know if
top
that's,
quality.
I guess they're similar. I don't
Top
know.
quality sounds.
I'm not
you
a
wouldn't believe it.
scientist.
And they got the bleeps and the bloops.
Oh,
bloop, bleep, bloop, bloop.
speaking of throwing the meteor, this is before they threw the meteor when they caught the space wave.
Catching space waves, dud. Oh yeah, gnarly.
Yeah, it was so triumphant.
Yeah,
It was rad. I was getting all teared up.
They got on the wave and they kept going and it
Yeah.
like recharged all
Yeah.
their shit and everything came back
Yeah, it was pretty
online and they were
pumping.
just like
and then they saw those electro spacetopus things like flying around.
Are those like the things from the
Space
Farpoint?
Depot, that sounds like ass to mouth.
Are those like the things from Farpoint?
I think they might be.
Is it like a grand circle?
They look very similar. I don't know how many space jellyfish.
Picard has
Farpoint.
to like follow up on all the things from his life.
Farpoint Station. One reason why I
And
think
away from our new friends, the space babies.
we can
Space babies.
Space
babies.
Space babies.
Space babies.
Space babies.
Space
She's all
babies.
like, come on, Jack.
Space babies.
Space babies.
Space babies.
Space babies.
Space babies.
Space babies.
Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt. Space babies.
One thing that's great about all this is that whole surfing idea is itself not particularly original.
I feel like I've heard that specifically somewhere in Star Trek before. I may not have.
In
but-
fact, even in TNG, I'm sure they've surfed energy waves in one fashion or another. Now, that being said, this episode is so good that it does not matter.
No.
It was tense the whole time, even though we knew exactly what they were going to do.
And I was thinking about this because we knew they were going to. It was a pretty safe assumption they would survive based upon commercials for the show alone, that they would survive this trip on the space wave.
Well, they got to do like 10 episodes.
But
they took the bold decision to kill off Picard, Riker, 7 of 9, all these other people.
Well, they still can do the Raffi.
And the
Worf
rest of the
story.
season, the rest of the season is Raffi, Worf, and LaForge. And maybe Moriarty, Lauren, Barkley.
Barkley.
That'd be something.
And it's a completely separate story.
But like Jesse was saying, it's triumphant. It was so triumphant, filled me full of, use my I statements, filled me full of emotion and spirit and just good feelings, good vibes, that I was like tense and into it. Unlike I was thinking about a TAS episode. I brought this up before, where it's this happens in 2 episodes, I think. I think it's in 2 TS, at least 1 TS and 1 regular, where somebody is like Kirk or someone is poisoned. And it was the fish episode in TS when they go underwater. Is that the ambergris incident or something? Or ambergris element?
The ambergris something.
Well, what happens basically at one point is I think it's Kirk who's they're trying to turn him back from fish people to normal people, but they don't, McCoy doesn't know how much to give them. He's afraid if he gives them too much, they'll die. And so he gives them, and he's like, I don't know if I gave him the right amount.
Because he's a doctor and he's not a fishologist.
Yeah.
Fishologist.
And so Kirk is sitting there, and so Kirk is sitting there.
Daddy's got a soundboard too, baby.
Yeah, he does.
No, Daddy.
So
I'm the daddy.
So Kirk is sitting
Not
there,
the mom.
and he's ready to It's so hard to concentrate. I'm trying. I should be
because
good.
it's awesome.
Yeah,
You should be
pretty
smacking
awesome,
him
right?
upside the head.
Let's just make it a little bit louder. Yeah, the audience appreciate that jiving. Okay, anyway, it's supposed to fade out anyway, so you can
anyways,
your point about the TAS stuff.
So Kirk is we think he might die, or we're led to believe he's going to die because he's McCoy's like, oh no, I think I gave him too much. And Kirk's on the ground going oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. And so the tension's supposed to come because we're supposed to be uh-oh.
Is Kirk going to lose his gills and start breathing properly?
Yeah, right. Or is he going to die? Well, we know he's not going to die. So because we know he's not going to die, they have to put something in the scene to give us something to look at. The whole scene is entirely 1 minute of us staring at a still image of Kirk on the ground going I don't And then McCoy's like, oh no, is he gonna make it? And then he's like, I think he's getting better, you know. And so there's nothing to do there. It's like, if we know it's gonna happen, there's got to be something to make our wingles tingle, you know. And that's what they did in this
term,
yeah, scientific, make the wingles
I've
tingle.
heard of this wingly tingly.
Yeah, and so that's how so that's kind of what that scene did for us.
Chief O'Brien.
Locutus of Borg.
I do.
What's gonna happen?
Fire!
We'll be right back after these commercials.
Wait, we already took a break.
No, we're not taking a break.
Oh.
I'm doing a gag.
You're doing a gag.
I'm doing the
dipshit from
TAS
Chicago.
Saturday morning cartoon gag.
You.
Ooh.
You. You.
Oh.
You.
What's he saying?
You. You.
Why is it so deep?
I don't know. It's the sound
Why is it
quality
so
for that.
deep?
The
You
sound
got
quality for
all
that.
deep.
It was that was the scene. So we can talk about Shaw. I guess the scene in the bar. Okay, first of all, let's talk about this 10 Forward situation. Did anybody on the? Because I don't read the internet from reviews. I never look at the internet for anything.
No.
Not even for my email.
This guy's analog. He's all analog.
I read my email from a book.
No, you read your email from one of those stock,
a book.
one of those stock tickers that's under like a glass globe.
Oh,
Yeah,
snap.
It's all
right.
like,
Yeah.
It comes out in like Morse code.
The problem is, this is like so much of it is junk mail,
Yeah. Oh God.
all written line by line.
And they have to like write out the images somehow
Yeah,
through binary.
it's like a description of the image.
So, first of all, did anyone on the internet talk about the fact that they brought up a reason for why the holodeck was allowed to be alive when everything else was getting fucked up? Like the whole separate First of all,
I don't know. That was easy to buy.
so, okay, here's the thing. I'm appreciative that they made an effort to explain, like, oh, this is why this is...
Explain the really stupid thing.
Yeah, explain the stupid thing.
It's really crazy.
It's ridiculous, because, like, why would they... It's like... There's got to be a way.
You could have said something different.
You could, with all the crazy shit they do, they could have taken that extra power cell and somehow used it for something else, couldn't they? They could have diverted that power. It probably wasn't a lot of power, but if the point is to get all the power they need, they could have taken it. So the idea,
They could have had life support.
So the idea they'd have this separate thing that you're not allowed to draw power from because it makes people calm. It's like ridiculous.
And okay, so
I mean, it's not a big deal. It's
what
just
were
kind of
the
like whatever.
drinks? What were the drinks they were drinking? Were those real drinks or were they hollow drinks?
I'm still on this. We'll get to that because I actually have a question about that too.
Yeah.
But does anyone have anything to say about the whole separate power cell situation?
I do.
Okay.
Okay.
I have a commentary. It's an opinion piece.
A real think piece.
I'm about to lay down.
Lay it on me.
Lay down an opinion piece right on you here.
lay a big opinion log right at my face.
It is dumb. I mean, the idea of being like, we're going to have the energy-intensive holodeck business be available in case of emergencies to make people feel better. I'm not saying it's not Patrick. I'm not saying it's dumb. I'm saying from a practical perspective that seems silly to have this separate thing.
Right. And it seems
simultaneously.
It's not the Enterprise.
Simultaneously, it fits right in with season 1 TNG third wave hippie crazy space future idea. The sweet idea that you would worry enough about people's final moments that it would be worth providing them some level of comfort beyond narcotics or something like that.
Right.
So the idea is a really nice idea. It seems like in a dangerous situation, as you said, Dan, you'd be like, oh, maybe we can use that takes a lot of energy to use the holodeck.
Yeah.
So maybe it can help a little bit. Maybe it can give us a little bit extra life support.
Right.
But I also feel that as part of the nostalgic vibe we get in this season is it's not just that we're seeing these older characters. It's that some of these actual things that are going on, like some of Dr. Crusher's techno babble and this type of thing, it's like it doesn't have to make 100% sense. It's like old school style Star Trek. It's like, let's just tell this story.
Mm-hmm.
But I can also see if people are aggravated by it.
Yes, I think we're on the same page with that one. What do you think, Jesse?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah.
Totally.
So, Jesse, what you were saying, Picard's all saying, like, this is 10 Forward. He's like, I've got something from my own backyard, and it's a good year. Were they just being cute? Is that what they were doing? Is they were being cute? Because it's all replicated, right?
Of course they were, but I just wonder if, like, I mean, are you replicating actual drink or is it a hollow drink?
I think that there's...
No, it's probably. You're wondering if it's a replicator drink?
Like,
Of course it's a replicator drink.
Is it pretend or is it actually a drink?
It's a drink.
It's probably a replicated drink.
Why would they make a not usable
I'm just
drink?
not sure what happens on the holodeck if you're really
replicated.
Well, it's that they have. I mean, a
slurp it
replicator
down.
and a look, transporter, replicator, and
yes.
holodeck behavior are all from the same system.
Oh no, I did
it's
that.
It's like the ear, nose, and throat
Yes.
doctor. It's the holodeck
It's
transporter.
all the
You mean the
same.
otolaryngologist?
Yes, it's the holodeck transporter replicator system.
It's all the same type of technological thing. I dig that, but like I just wasn't sure. It wasn't clear if it was pretend food.
So-
if you go to like the
you're saying-
holodeck pretend restaurant, is it real food?
Well, what would they be eating otherwise? What would it be? What would it be
Well-
like to eat non-replicated pretend food, like air?
I mean,
I think-
they're shooting each other with not real guns.
Yeah, Jesse's probably saying that you just sit there and you pretend to eat and you're all like, nom, 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 but you don't like actually eat.
But what would the food feel like in your mouth?
Nothing, because you're just going
Exactly.
like, nom, nom, nom.
It would just feel
You're
like
pretending.
arrow.
You're just
Yum,
like,
yum,
nom,
yum,
nom,
yum,
nom.
yum, yum.
There is a
But-
larger problem that neither of you have mentioned yet.
Well, okay, because he wanted cheap whiskey, but he got Jameson.
Oh yeah, I
Jameson-
noticed that too.
I think
Yeah.
And
Jameson
okay,
counts as-
Jameson isn't like the most expensive shit ever, but it's not cheap.
well,
whiskey.
they also when Riker and Picard were drinking the whiskey, it was some fancy, it was some fake fancy looking whiskey. It was a made up,
It was a made up like future bourbon.
Now they just have straight up
Preferably
Jameson.
cheap and on the rocks.
Yes. Okay.
Which is interesting that you'd specifically ask for cheap whiskey. I mean, it's like
he's a dirty man.
It's an unappealing way to convey his thing. I honestly, as much as I love the writing in this season, I do occasionally they got those lines where I find that line to be a bit of a lazy characterization line.
yeah, because I mean, like I understand.
It'd be more interesting if he
It's
drank
like,
like
come on.
Manhattans or something.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
right?
I can understand the draw to want like something that's like not fancy pants and stuff, but whiskey. I mean, I think anyone
And when you're dying,
like anyone who wants
and it's a hologram,
and yeah,
you're just gonna sip it and go and pretend anyway.
and like for anyone who's ever drank like the cheapest vodka out there, that shit is
Do not.
don't
It's called-
do it.
It's called Aristocrat, and do not buy it.
don't do
It
it.
comes in a plastic bottle. Do not buy it.
Bowman's.
Costs
So-
like $3.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, it's like liquor. From my understanding, liquor is not something you ever want to really cheap out on in any way.
No, you want to get nicer.
I mean, and you don't have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, but you don't specifically want the rail, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Put out lay down some latinum.
Yeah.
But you don't have to go crazy. We're talking slips, not bars.
But when Picard was talking,
But in the future, is Jameson the cheap stuff?
yeah, I was noticing that too as they were drinking the.
neither
Jameson.
of you have identified.
Well,
I think
so-
the more significant question.
Well,
the more significant confusing thing here.
Well, I was also confused about the something from my own backyard. He was talking about it's being a good year. I guess he was just joking about like having this wine vintage because
presumably it was part of
Yeah.
this program that it was Picard's program because it was Picard's
And
10
he-
forward. He asked for
and
it.
he's able to replicate the specific year. Because I think like every time, once in a while, you'll see like some shit and they'll be like, non-replicated food. It's so good.
Any guesses at all
So why-
as to what's the even more fatal issue here with this whole
So
scenario?
why would they be able to make subtle differences between years of or vintages of wine if they can't even get a steak perfectly? You know. Anyways, okay, it's not important.
I paused because I'm really intrigued and somewhat enraptured by your question.
Yeah,
but it does not get at the more significant issue at hand.
What's that?
That issue is, where did he get this fucking program? Does Picard just carry it around in his pocket?
Well, it might be.
Oh, yeah, it's
I
on his
wondered
ship.
about that, and I just sort of assumed that maybe you just sort of that's in
He
your
just shows
it's
up
in
on
your
the Titan
luggage.
and he's just like taking it.
People,
I'll
people travel with their favorite books.
I'll buy that. It's just
their favorite video
it's just
games.
Like, okay, really?
I don't think Picard would travel with his favorite fucking.
Just in
like-
case, just in case at night I have to go
it's-
visit 10 forward.
He's in the future, baby.
I wish they would. The thing is
If
that's
they
the
had-
type of thing where if they would just say he brought it because it's like his psychological teddy bear, that would be cool,
Right.
And then would get rid of this issue where it's just
'cause-
kind of like, why do you have this super awesome detailed program not your spaceship.
Because they don't have cloud storage. They have to still send out like letters in the morning.
And they're
stuff.
trapped in a nebula. It's not like he thought about this earlier on in their adventure and was just like, oh yeah. I mean, who knows? Maybe he did. It's just, I know I'm not supposed to care about these things, and I honestly sort of don't in the end. But it's the kind of thing that jumps out at me because otherwise this was an awesome scene for the interactions between Picard and Jack. Those were cool. It was an interesting conversation.
Like this one.
I think we need to talk about the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
The hair.
The hair.
Enjoy it while you can.
See, the joke is they're going to die in a couple hours. So he can enjoy the hair while he can, because he's going to be dying in a couple hours as opposed to a few years when he'd lose it naturally.
Is that the joke? I thought the joke was just... it was poignant in that he was telling a joke that only makes sense with a longer time horizon.
That's what I would. That's the same thing I said.
Is it?
Yeah. He says it's funny because he's talking about it as if he's gonna lose his hair in a few years, but the joke is that they're gonna die in a couple hours. Right, yeah. That's the joke.
I can't disagree with that.
We're making the same joke in different perspectives.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You guys are different sides of the same coin.
What does that make you, Jesse? The coin. He's the one who flips the coin.
Extra change.
He's the banker.
Extra change.
I'm a dollar bill, baby.
But didn't they always say that the hair loss comes from the are they still saying it comes from the woman's
mom's mom's dad's side?
Yeah.
Who knows?
10 fucking grueling hours.
Yes, so that story was part of this exchange with Picard and Jack. And the idea that Picard was just going to go get laid with Jack, that's charming. Not particularly surprising.
Not his son, Jack.
They had an invitation.
Yes, not his son, Jack. Although maybe in the future, that's what'll happen.
Delightful and enthusiastic.
I like enthusiastic. That means they were down to clown.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what
Picard was being
enthusiasm, baby.
Extra rendy today.
Yeah.
But it was a great story, and it's one of those great stories where they present it and they give it some instant weight.
Are you talking about the Jack story?
The Jack story.
The Jack story.
The Jack
Crusher.
It's the
A plot, the B plot, and the Jack plot.
Jean-Luc and Jack.
You won the Jack plot.
Go in and hook it up with some people.
You won the Jack plot by watching at the Jack plot.
Okay.
Now I'm getting a little hyper.
I know. That's excellent.
Simmer down.
It's all working out.
All right.
We're not even yet to our next break. But yes, the story was a very good story. They gave it weight by having other characters acknowledge that they had heard the story before, which is nice.
Riker's all like, I know that story too, kid.
And Picard was like, did your mother already tell you the story, implying that she knows the story, right? So now we know
he never got a chance
at
to
least
answer.
two other people, presumably a lot of other people.
He was interrupted in his answer.
He was interrupted by Captain Shaw coming in and giving...
It's not a very good sound.
Why do you keep playing it?
I'm trying to make it better.
I get it. If you play it enough, it'll get better.
Yeah.
Or if you want me to play with the dials over here, we can tweak it and put special effects on it. Captain Shaw comes in and he gives the speech from Jaws, a variation on Quint's speech from Jaws. I think that was fairly obvious. It also started to make sense of the name Captain Shaw because Robert Shaw played Quint in Jaws.
Oh, snap.
And his famous speech about the Indianapolis with like a doll's eyes, all that business. This Captain Shaw's speech mimics this. Now, this is fairly clear, but it was confirmed by Terry Matalas online.
He even looked fucked up when he came in, and which, I thought at first he was drunk, but then he even said like, "Oh, your your doctor or your ex-wife, I don't know what did he
your
call
mother.
Your mother
is gives out lots of drugs.
Yeah, but it was funny because
gives him the big fat
because he
pills.
came in as if he was drunk. He was like,
gives him the hypo spray.
But he was on the
hyper
cool. Had that cool cane.
So both him and
Starfleet issue cane.
So both him and 11,000 people died. Both him and Sisko
in Wolf 359.
359.
Yeah, the Battle of Locutus.
The Battle of Wolf.
And I think
359.
that confirms one of you all had that theory that he was there.
Yeah.
That's why he hates them.
Stardate 44002.3. Yes, I suggested. I think we separately suggested, but I
It was
know I
both of
remember.
y'all, yeah.
I think a lot of people suggested
Yeah.
that he seemed to have some prejudice against Borg.
Well, he definitely had
and
a
some
prejudice, but
against Picard,
but the-
and that the Locutus thing made sense.
Yeah.
and some trauma. He clearly had some.
And so
trauma.
both him and Cisco, like I bet Picard made a lot of. I never thought of it that way, but he probably made a lot of officer. Speaking of officers,
oh my god, oh my god, is everything okay? Oh Jesus!
Pointing his finger.
Ensign Foster, who got
Bananas
killed,
Foster,
who got killed to be shapeshifted into. He was a transporter officers. Ensigns can be officers. I didn't know.
Ensigns
are
are officers. That's the first.
Is that what?
That's the
Is that
first
how it
grade
works?
of officer.
It's the lowest rank.
It's 01.
That's what they are. They're all officers.
Yeah,
They're
otherwise,
01s,
you're
yeah.
enlisted if you're.
It's like a second lieutenant.
Yeah.
I don't even know nothing.
Well, now you do.
Well, I know
Learning
something.
is
I'll
half
help
the
you,
battle.
sir.
Okay, morning is half the battle.
I will
I
help
said
you in your
I
journey.
didn't say mourning is half the battle. I said learning is half the battle.
Mourning is half of your life.
There are podcasts about grief, and I'm sure they would talk about mourning being half the battle.
So
that's not this podcast.
All right, so
We're all happy, yay!
It's got
happy. It's got happy. Everything's happy no matter what. Don't worry about it.
So
What
there
are
was,
you worried about?
There was that whole scene where it was so it was all like uncomfortable, and like it seems like okay, that should be if there was not enough reason for Shaw to die now, he should probably die after that scene because he totally embarrassed himself in front of his crew.
You totally went a different direction.
I mean, I don't want him to die, but I'm thinking in
but
terms
you meant like thematically.
if they're gonna have to sacrifice somebody, makes sense as a person to sacrifice and lose.
Yeah.
Because he's already proven to be kind of he's redeemable, but he's also kind of a dick.
He's on borrowed time.
So you hope that he gets redeemed, and the fact he doesn't is sad, but it's not so sad that you're gonna be mad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He was and
not
plus,
so sad,
I
but you're gonna be
follow you.
mad.
Yeah.
and that-
I know
that
what
starts
you
with
are saying.
Capital T and
I
something
know-
rhymes with B.
I know what you are saying.
I'm just some dipshit from Chicago.
Yes.
You are indeed a dipshit from Chicago.
What is
You get in the car.
cool?
The car won't go.
What is cool about this?
Chicago.
What is cool about this scene? Cool. What is cool about this scene? What is quite cool?
What was that?
Oh, it's quite cool.
Quite
No,
cool.
It's quite cool. It's quite Bilbo.
Just some
Bilbo.
dipshit from Chicago.
You are indeed a
Bilbo
dipshit from
Baggins.
Chicago.
Yes. All right. Now we've taken care of that. We move on to the next comment, which is about the same scene.
Oh, it's based same scene.
In that it's a comparison. We are meant to compare it to the scene with Cisco, which is a very similar scene. It's of course different characters handled a little bit differently, but that's earlier in the timeline. And at that time,
Get in,
sorry.
she says. It's
Sorry.
an order.
Sorry.
no, it's quite all right. You got so bored that you literally fell asleep and hit your head on the keyboard and started playing sounds. To conclude my boring point is that when Cisco has his dust up with Picard about being at Wolf 359 and Locutus and all that business, Picard is sort of taken aback and he can't quite handle it. Here, it's not like he's happy about it, but I think he's sincere when he's
used
like
to it.
He's like, I understand.
Yeah.
Dude, trust me. I fucking understand. I was there.
He was there too.
But he was bummed out because his tone with Jack got all business-like afterwards. He was just like, well...
But he did say it meant a lot to me.
Yeah, he did.
And the look on Jax's face was like when you first play catch with your estranged father or something. It's like that kind of thing where he had that reaction.
Space babies.
Space babies.
Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt.
Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt.
That was my favorite
Space
line
babies.
in the whole business.
Yeah, it was that one came out of nowhere. It
Yeah.
was like kind of
You know this bloke.
It's because they
bloke you know.
I
Space
know
babies.
I know why
Space
they
babies.
added the Fanny's your aunt. They had to do that because they desperately just wanted him to say Bob's your uncle. I have no doubt that the actor whose name is slipping my mind at the moment, I have no doubt that he said, I'm not gonna say that. That's too ridiculous. You've already got me talking like a London cabbie or like some sort of like underworld urchin. I'm not gonna say Bob's your uncle. And then they were like, what if we add in and Fanny's your aunt just for a little,
It's like, well, nobody's ever said that before, but I'm gonna say
it makes it more, it's like by making it even in more ridiculous, it actually makes it less ridiculous somehow. I don't know. It's a little pet theory of mine.
There was we're playing the game of which I already spoiled by falling asleep at the keyboard. The game of That's an Order.
That's an order.
Where I get
funny you say
for
that.
newer podcast listeners. Dan has a particular bugaboo. Particular bugaboo
Hey,
when it
what
comes
bug's the
to when it comes to people saying that's an order. He likes to point out whether or not he thinks it's a legitimate use of the term "that's an order," or if I can't even really remember exactly what I know. I know the criteria for
like when
what's wrong, but why does it upset you?
Why when someone's like, Captain, I'm gonna save your life, and the captain's like, no, leave me to die, and he's like, no, Captain, I can't leave you to die, and the captain's like, that's an order, you know, some brave reason to say that's an order.
Dan doesn't like people to be brave.
Well, no, hey, come on now, get that shit out of here.
Oh no, I'm just let's clarify.
Get that contextual.
Now is the time to correct any errors.
Get that contextual bullshit out of here, man.
Okay,
You're fucking it
you
up.
like people to be brave, but you don't like them to use their authority.
No, I don't like them to use cliches like that. It's cliche.
Okay, it's the cliche that you don't like. That's
tired of it.
No, that makes sense.
You gotta know. So Shaw's talking about how at the captain comes down and starts pointing.
Why are you making a whipping motion?
No, it's a lieutenant.
Lieutenant, you're right.
They
Like
just
a
sent
horse-
some
like a
lieutenant.
horse racing.
I'm pointing.
Maybe the lieutenant is the only one left.
Well, the lieutenant, no, what he was saying is there was a bunch of fucking people. Lieutenant came down and pointed to like 10 people or whatever.
But that was the only one from like
there
the
was
upper
10 spaces.
upper staff.
But they didn't include themselves. So my point being is that they came down and started pointing at people to like, it's like, there's only 10 spaces left and like 100 people or whatever.
Yeah.
And so they were
That's
like,
quite a job.
yeah. And so they were just pointing at people and they didn't point at themselves, but they pointed at people. And then as the captain was like, get in there, everyone's like, huh? And then the captain or the lieutenant goes,
Get in, she says. That's an order.
now I say that is probably a proper use of that's an order, but it's pushing it. It's pushing it. It's really pushing it.
Is it because in this context,
like that's an order? Like
the order is directly saving the person's life as opposed to increasing the chances of say. It seems to me like in the other scenario, in the other cliche, what it is the person in command is the one who is injured and is saying, "Don't try to help me because I need you to go find safety, and I'll stay here and I'll shoot the bad guys in the last moments or whatever." So that's basically correct, right? In the one with Shaw, it's very similar, but the person's not like, they're not dead yet. They're not like under a beam or something like that.
Yeah.
Right? Is that what makes the difference? Shaw is an underling. He's just an engineer guy.
It's mostly close because it's involving saving someone's life, and it's also for kind of a separate reason.
Because it was random?
Because it's, because it's like, look, it doesn't matter who follows orders at that point.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who follows orders at that point because they're all gonna fucking die.
Or does it matter more than ever?
Well, I mean, I'm saying it's like, if it's like, that's an order to save my life, what if I say no, I die? It's like, yeah, it's like, oh, I'm gonna say no to your that's an order, and what are you gonna do, shoot me? I'm gonna die anyway. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's no point to that's an order.
You're absolutely right.
I mean, if that works in the military, then
you're gonna die
to
anyway. That's the point.
I think the point you're making is effectively calling out the fact that the absurdity, or at least from one perspective, the absurdity of human conflict produces precisely such scenarios where someone would indeed shoot their own soldier for insubordination, for not saving themselves.
Yeah, right.
Because they disobeyed an order, because that's the obtuse and perverse rules of violent conflict.
Precisely.
Excellent point.
I have to
go to the bathroom?
No,
because we can take a break right now. It's about time to take a break.
Okay, well, okay. I mean,
would this next point be well served by taking a brief break and then just diving into this motherfucker
head first?
I mean, yeah. Let's take a break now then.
All right,
we can tippy toe if you want.
Well, that's what we're gonna do.
Tippy toe.
What we'll do is we'll be right back, and when we're back, we will have returned.
We'll dip it toe.
All right, we're back and we're chill. We're relaxed.
So I have to confess something to you.
All right, what's that?
No.
This sound effect that I've been playing, this one.
Yes.
Yeah, it was like, why did I put that?
It's the muddy one.
Yeah, it's actually out of context.
It's like a mud pie.
It's actually out of context.
An auditory mud pie.
I cut the sound up. So it doesn't like. So that's why like it's so the original one. This is the original one that I cut it up from.
Okay. No.
Did that joke land?
Dan, you are a card. And I mean that in the old sense of the term. Total card. Yes, okay.
Setting the world on fire!
I do.
Did that joke land?
Yes. And I'm glad we waited until after the break.
Because that would have been a real sad note to end on before the break.
I know, it may have worked better before the break, but that's okay. That's okay. We learn, we continue, we strive to do our best and improve ourselves each week. Okay.
You're playing like a concerto over there, Jesse.
So 7 of 9 rules as usual.
Oh yeah.
She's one of the best things of coming out of Picard, I think, and I really do hope.
She calls the shapeshifter again.
Well, I'm not saying I agree with all her actions philosophically, but as a literary character,
what are you going to call it?
As a literary character, I think 7 of 9.
Oh yeah, she's great.
Jerry Ryan's done such a great job.
She's got
with
those awesome middle fingers on her left hand too. Those are awesome.
I am hopeful that they do try to do some sort of spin-off action with 7 of 9. They certainly seem to be setting us up for that. I don't know if they're setting us up to fail, but I'm hoping this is a Strange New Worlds type scenario where they grab a few of these clever characters and give them their own show, because I really enjoy watching 7 of 9 just in general, but this particular iteration, I'm excited to see her get into some cool adventures.
Yeah, no, she's awesome. She is totally rad. And I love like her character has evolved, grown a lot from Voyager, because she seems much less Borgish.
Yeah,
totally.
So
yeah.
I guess.
Well, and even on Voyager, over time, she was getting less and less Borgish.
Yeah.
What's always impressive, and we've mentioned this many times when we've discussed Star Trek Voyager, one of the things that's very impressive is that her character was clearly, to some significant degree, was brought on by male producers who were looking to have a hot chick with big boobs in a tight outfit, a hilariously tight outfit, given some technobabble reason to make her wear this ridiculous outfit for the purpose of titillation and raising ratings. However, because of a combination of Jerry Ryan's skill and smart writers getting in there and making use of it, that character became so awesome and was doing all this awesome stuff and really was one of the key pieces of Voyager in the latter half of that series.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's always great to see her, and this season in particular, I've enjoyed the character.
Yeah. Chia?
Like Chia Pet?
Well, speaking of sound files, I have another sound file.
Were we speaking of sound files?
Well, I played one a minute before this conversation.
Oh, so you've been thinking about that since my last.
And
you were waiting for my point to.
This one's like a minute long.
Okay.
And we can take a risk if we decide it's not going to, because there's going to be issues with it. We can figure that out.
Does this have to do with 7 of 9?
Yes, it's my tribute to 7 of 9.
Okay.
Whoa, shit, that's not it.
Who's this a tribute to?
Okay, never mind. That's not. Boy, I sure bombed that one, didn't I? Oh no, that one is like the minute. Okay, this is like 50 seconds.
All right.
So let's try this again. Tribute to 7, Part 2.
Hey, Hanson.
Okay, all right.
Oh no.
Chemistry lab,
Commander Hansen to sick bay.
Hanson, give me 5 and meet me at missile control.
Commander Hansen to Captain Riker.
Commander Hanson, go make sure that those manual locks are off.
Commander Hansen.
Commander Hansen.
Hansen the Forge always calls me Commander 7.
You should have had something by like the 7-Ups or something there at the end. I like that.
By the who? 7-Ups?
The 7-Ups. Isn't that a band? There's got to be a band called the 7-Ups.
I think
there's a band called the 7-Ups.
The 7-Ups. Are you saying I should have put something by a band called the 7-Ups at
or
the
something
end?
with 7 in it? What's another musical thing with a 7?
Well, I played that one because it is Hanson.
Yeah, but at the end she says 7 of 9.
Oh, I see. You're right.
The very end bit.
Yeah, you're right. Oh, you totally.
Because working backwards
Yeah.
and knowing what I do of you, I'm making a mere guess here. I think what you've done is you found every instance of the word Hansen, and then you said, I have no choice but to have all of them. And we're not going to call it OCD because none of us are clinicians. None of us are clinicians, and we can't diagnose or self-diagnose
not at all.
with obsessive compulsive disorder. However,
people should be required to say obsessive compulsive disorder every time. They should ban the whole like abbreviation of it because like it's too easy to say I have OCD about this, and so you extend that as like I have obsessive compulsive disorder about this. I understand language changes, but it's become too easy to casually throw it away and say I've got obsessive compulsive disorder, and then people just say it all the time. I know you shouldn't actually ban it. I'm just being stupid, but you know, I'm just making a point that I'm smart.
Given the point I'm making,
did you know that you
point
were
was
smart?
Fascinating. That's because for the audience at home, the look on Dan's face was 100% sincere when he was giving that little thought of his
Tirade rant.
Yes, because that whole Hansen joke, you could have totally accomplished that Hansen joke with like 2 or 3 of the Hansen references.
Yeah, right.
2 or 3 little Hansen.
No, but it has to be all of them.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying. I'm guessing, and you seem to be confirming that you found every reference to Hansen, and then working backwards from that, decided this has got to be this long.
It wasn't until like there's 7 references to Hansen in the episode.
7?
Yeah. Whoa.
Oh,
wait a second. No, that can't be right.
Oh my God, these writers are geniuses.
That can't be right.
Or maybe they're numerologists. Maybe the writers are OCD.
Numerologists.
Terry Metalis and gang, are you OCD?
Oh my God, there's seven references to Hansen in this episode. Holy fucking shit.
Dan is straight up like, oh my God.
There's 7 references to Hansen in the fucking episode.
My mind is fucking blown. What are we gonna do?
Come is on it.
Setting the world on fire.
That's my world on fire.
There's. Whoa.
You know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
All right.
Go get the bastard.
All right, we will. We'll go get that bastard.
So, okay, I think that song's going to be okay because even if you don't have a music license, you can play up to like 20 seconds of a song.
Even if they don't care.
Totally.
These big corporations, they don't give a damn.
But, you know, I don't know how that's for like radio. Maybe the rules are different for like internet. I don't know.
The internet's a crazy, wild west.
That's why they're allowed to do. I heard that they're allowed to do. What
are you talking about?
You know that channel that shows all the crazy shit with cops and stuff happening all the time?
What are you talking about?
They're allowed to do that because it's live coverage. If it's live coverage, it's considered the news, and so they don't have to blur out faces or something. There's some kind of law they're allowed to profit off it. I don't know.
They don't have to step in and stop the cops from beating people.
Yeah. So.
Oh my God.
Exactly.
The sad state of reality as we near 2024 and those districts and from D Space Nine's episode Past Tense, a 2-part episode that Dan's algorithm is always bringing up.
Yeah, we do like the past tense, don't we?
Sanctuary districts. They're here. They're already here.
So speaking of 7 of 9.
Speaking of
and the
7 of 9.
She's talking about the biochemistry lab.
Biochemistry. I like it. Continue. I kind of see what you're saying about the
Frankenfoods
hyperactivity bit. I'm starting to see where you're coming from.
That we're all hyperactive.
I'm starting to see it a little bit.
Yeah, we are hyperactive.
Did I eat a bunch of sugar before the podcast?
I don't know but you guys have been amped up like all over each other.
Maybe we're just excited because this is a great episode of Star Trek.
It's very exciting.
It's a little amped up tonight. So I'm glad I'm not going crazy. Then you actually Jesse doesn't see it, but Patrick sees it.
However, you could also be going crazy.
He's trying to placate you.
He's trying to placate me. Fuck you, Jesse.
Simultaneously.
Trying to placate me. Now you're gonna make me think and obsess over it. So first of all, she goes to the biochemistry lab in the hall.
Who's she?
7. Sorry, 7.
Okay, 7
she's
of
in
9.
the hall. She's trying to find the shapeshifter. She's called
the goo people.
Yeah,
the Play-Doh. She's trying to find some residue.
Yes. So she goes. she goes to them. She goes, Hanson to biochemistry lab. I have a substance I need scanned immediately. And the officer goes, biochemistry lab has been shut down to conserve power. May I suggest you use your tricorder? That biochemistry lab was totally trying to shut her down like she was calling customer service or something. She tried to put the biochemistry lab 7 of 9 on hold when she asked to get something scanned.
She's the XO.
She was like, I can't use a tricorder.
Okay.
Open it up. I'm coming. Did you also notice that the shape-shifting goo, it kind of did
Looked like RuPaul.
Did it what? Oh, you're talking about the face dude. No, that dude. Oh, yeah. That dude was making a crazy face. That was a crazy face.
He was making a crazy face.
That was an awesome face. But the actual goo itself, I mean, it kind of reminded me of the site.
Pizza the Hut?
No.
Yeah, it didn't look like Pizza the Hut.
Otherwise, pizza's gonna call out for you. Pizza the Hut.
So
boss, you're so delicious.
Do you remember Ghostbusters 2? They didn't have ectoplasm and
it was all that pink goo.
It was the psychomagnotheric slime. That's what the fucking
bit, except with little pepperonis.
Yeah, little pepperonis in it. Yeah, you're right. So it was a mixture between psychomagnotheric slime and Pizza the Hut.
That's utterly horrible.
Was Vigo there? Vigo
the Carpathian.
Okay.
Vigo the Carpathian.
So just to step back briefly, a mere perhaps 30 seconds ago, when you complained that the biochemistry lab was shutting 7 of 9 down,
I was just noticing they were being
as
an asshole
as
about
if it were like a customer service situation. Now, I think it made sense to point out that 7 is
she's out of commission, right? She was put down.
No, actually, what I was going to say,
she was put down.
she was not put down. What I was going to say is that the biochemistry lab is not just like closed, and it's not 10 minutes before closing.
Right.
It's an emergency. It's not working.
Right.
The power's off. Mm-hmm. So I would say it's not quite the same as a customer service situation where you show up at your Best Buy or your Home Depot or your Wawa or whatever, whatever your local
they're drifting
places.
They're adrift in a nebula.
But she was doing something important.
Ralph's. If you show up and it's like 5 minutes to close and they're like, no, you can't come in, they're all closed.
I mean,
it's not that situation.
It's good they got the shapeshifter because they escaped, but why was that at the top of their well, I guess it was only 7 was on it, but like
because of the sabotage.
Balana's on it.
What? Who's on it?
Balana's on it.
Who are you talking about, Patrick?
You said 7's on it, but I said Balana's on it.
I don't think you know what you're talking about.
I think I know exactly what I'm talking about.
What are you talking about?
I'm saying Balana's on it.
Balana's on it.
You gotta work on the uptick there, I think.
Sometimes it's hard to find these things.
Chief O'Brien?
So yeah, I guess it was, I mean, it doesn't seem like they should have really, I mean, it's good they did care and maybe this is why they cared, but it seems like if you think you're going to die, why do you care about some shapeshifter running around? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't know.
But it's good they did.
Yeah, I mean, it's good that they did, but I don't know.
It just doesn't seem like you care. Okay, can I do a short bit on,
a short one?
You're at like the open mic night and you're like, all right, looks like I got like 2 minutes left. Is it okay? Like, do you guys mind if I do this bit?
I just want to point out one thing I'm noticing as I've been taking recordings of various parts of the episode. I've been noticing parts where we talked about this last
messages.
Week. No, that's another bit.
Hidden in the undergirding.
We did this last week where it was like you play a sound and we're trying to figure out if it was cut in the middle. Okay.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. Agreed.
Yes, we're gonna just continue on.
Yes.
Trudge along. Trudge along home.
It's actually going to be an example of exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. Boom. So, and we were talking about, it's frustrating when, you've talked about it was frustrating, and I've experienced this too, but you more often than I do, when you're editing a podcast and it's perfectly edited, but just the way the conversation carried itself, it sounds like the sound.
Some people have
cut.
a staccato voice.
Yeah.
Where they're doing something weird with their head.
Weird. So I'm gonna play.
Jesse's doing some business.
I'm gonna play the long version, which is 15 seconds. See if you can figure out the point, which I think is cut.
Is this going to be one of those things where it's hilariously obvious, or is it going to be another Oprah clip?
No, it's not. No. This is legit.
All right.
The nacelle covers are designed to prevent the plasma conduits from absorbing too much radiation. So,
from absorbing too much radiation,
we got to
nacelle covers are
just
designed
listen to the whole thing.
To prevent the plasma conduits from absorbing too much radiation. So, if we could manually open them,
Yes.
we might be able to channel
So,
the energy from the wave
If we
right down
could
to the warp core.
manually,
Now, that
I think
could
there's a
work.
few spots there.
Yeah, I think there are too.
There's
The-
like 3 or 4.
The one,
tightened it up.
The one that I pulled out, but as I was doing it more, yeah, I think you're right. I think there's a few of them. The one that I pulled out was
If we could manually open them.
if we could manually open
Do you
them.
have the
That's
Jack
a whole
one?
bunch.
Do you have the Jack
If
one?
we could manually open them.
The one from last week?
Yeah, the Jack one that's all extra robot-y.
Oh, that was what that was from last week.
Was it last week or a couple weeks ago?
Um,
Don't worry if you don't got it.
It's somewhere in here. I just don't remember. Do you remember what he was saying?
Not really.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, Dan.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. We're nearing the end of the podcast.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
We don't got to stress out about this sort of thing.
He's the things about that is no. Stop looking at me. Is Starfleet.
Stop looking at me, Swan.
I remember.
Shampoo is better.
Okay, so we think it's a couple of them there. What about this one?
Reference my records. Reference my records.
My records.
Breckers.
I got you on that one.
Oh, did you?
Reference my personal records.
I cut that one myself.
Oh,
I was gonna say because that sounded crazy.
you rascal.
It would've been
Reference
great.
my records.
You dirty dog.
Reference my records.
Okay, how about this one?
You are indeed a dipshit from Chicago.
What about that? Did that sound cut up to you?
Nah,
No,
I don't know.
that one didn't sound cut up.
I don't know.
Cut you up.
What do you think that one sounded cut up?
Cut
Jesse?
your ass up.
Okay, what about the scene where Jack was like, remember when they were flying through the air and in the space, flying through the space and dodging the things, and that one part where Picard was like, okay, turn now, and then Jack's like, no, wait 4 seconds.
Yeah.
You remember that? It was longer than 4 seconds.
Yeah, it was.
Here, count this shit.
I was like, wait, what are you doing?
You count this shit out.
Hold on.
What, like 1 Mississippi?
4 more seconds.
1 Mississippi, 2
Trust
Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi, 6 Mississippi, 7 Mississippi, 8 Mississippi, 9 Mississippi, 10 Mississippi. No, you're tricking me. You're tricking me.
I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. It took me a very long time to realize that Dan is a shenanigan person. He's creating
That's a loop.
He's creating a shenanigan.
This is how long it took.
Shenanigans!
No.
Whoa, that's weird. It's coming up to the end soon.
Oh, is it?
So you're gonna miss it.
Shut it off.
Oh, shut that motherfucker off!
See, it was like 50 minute almost, I think.
This is
More
labeled
than
as
a minute.
investigation music.
It was like 2 minutes.
That actually
TAS
sounded
investigation
that
music.
sounded pretty cool over top of the one that I was playing.
I mean, that's what we're trying to do here. We're bouncing off each other.
We're
right?
bouncing off each other.
Blah, bounce. Bubble bounce.
I have another confession to make. It wasn't actually that long, but it was like 10 or 11 seconds long. It was like when he said 4 seconds, it was like a good 10 or 11 seconds afterwards before they.
And normally they're so good about that.
It was longer than 4.
Didn't they?
Yeah.
In last week's episode, was the 17 seconds actually 17 seconds?
I don't know. I didn't count. Well, they didn't show the whole scene. They didn't show the whole scene. So we don't know because they didn't show the whole. And the reason is because Riker only went through 17.
Hey, Dan, I'm just going to say, you seem a little bit hyperactive today.
Shut the fuck up,
We're
man.
trying to be a chill podcast. This is what we're famous for, being very relaxed and chill and calm. The type of thing that people listen to when they're going to bed.
No.
No, because the 17 seconds last week was what Riker waited. We don't know how long Picard waited. They just made it like a
Yeah, but
similar.
they showed Picard going down to
Picard. They showed Picard.
They showed Picard.
They showed Picard.
I showed Picard to the bartender. He
I-
said that card's expired.
I know they showed that and it was supposed to parallel with what Riker did, but it wasn't going to be exactly 17 seconds because they never said it would.
A pair of L's.
What?
A pair of L's.
A pair of socks? A pair
Paradox,
of socks. A pair of socks. The most ingenious paradox. A pair of socks.
Odds and ends. I think we're at odds and ends time. Any last little bits and
I'm
pieces
at
that
odds
you
with
wanted
you.
to discuss? No, you're not.
I'm just kidding.
Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt.
Space babies. Bob's your uncle. Fanny's your aunt.
Riker gives one of those excellent captain speeches.
Yes.
Space babies.
He gives a good, yes, that's a good.
Like the kind they talk about on lower decks.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good captain speech. Riker, Jonathan Frakes in general, he directed this episode.
You can tell.
He's great in this episode. He's great this whole season.
Are you talking about this part?
Being lowered into the ground.
That
But it was so dark. But it was so dark. Being lowered into the ground. But it was so dark.
one? Is that speech you're talking about?
No, the one when he's on the bridge. He's giving like
quiet.
the pep talk.
Yeah.
speech.
Oh, that speech. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. No, that was a good speech. Yeah, it was solid. It's funny when you're watching
a good solid captain speech.
It's funny when you're watching a show and like
Yes.
It always is. It always is.
low-hanging
It's like
fruit.
what world do we live in?
When I am watching a show, there are times that I am watching a captain's speech and
When
I don't
are you watching
and I
the
don't
show?
realize it's a captain's speech until about 5 seconds in, and I'm like,
And you're like, oh fuck.
wait a minute, wait,
Here we go.
we're doing a captain's speech.
This
We're
guy's
doing
the
it.
captain.
And then I start getting all motivated. I'm like,
You're sitting in your couch all comfy with your
He's
remote
talking
control.
sense.
Yeah.
Remote control being like, yeah, we're going to do it.
captain's speech. So
We're going
yeah,
to get out of this mess.
It was-
The Titan A.
Oh yeah.
Forget about that weird shit on the Stargazer.
Speaking of the Titan, let's talk a minute about Thaddeus, his son Thaddeus. So I was looking up some information on Thaddeus.
Oh, what database did you use? Did you use Memory Alpha?
Memory Alpha along with some other sources just to piece things together.
Memory
Other
Thaddeus.
sources.
So I had to look up a few things, cross-reference, that kind of thing. So Thaddeus is Riker's dead son. And Thaddeus...
They talked about him in that earlier episode a little bit.
Yeah, so he was born apparently in 2381. Now, what does that mean to us? Season 3 takes place in 2401. Season 1 takes place in 2399. 2381. Season 1 took place in 2399. Thaddeus died in 2396. If he was born in 2381 and he died in 2396, he was approximately 15 years old.
Wow.
Yes.
So why did he have such a small coffin?
Well, you're got such a small cough, and I didn't know where you're going to end that word. You said, why does he have such a small coffin? Small coffin. Coffin. Oh my God, that was a huge coffin.
Okay. All right. So continue your point. Were you going to mention the lower decks takes place around the 80, 81?
No, I wasn't going to bring up lower decks because it didn't apply to this scenario.
Well, Riker is on.
So-
Riker. It means Riker's on the original, or not the original, but the previous Titan, and he has not yet during the lower decks time period he and Deanna have not introduced Thaddeus Riker to the world yet.
Okay. That is relevant. I hadn't
relevant context.
It's extending my info. Thank you.
It
That's
is
helpful.
extending your info.
I will
We're bouncing off.
I will
of each
implement
other.
that extended info.
Who do you think Thaddeus is named after?
After some sort of Confederate Civil War.
I don't know, but I can tell you
something.
that their daughter Kestra was named after Deanna's older sister, who died in a lake on Beta Z when she was 6 years old.
Yes,
that's what Kestra was, and so.
That's why Loxana is all sad all the time.
So season 1 took place in 2399. And Thaddeus would have been 18 years old. Now, we don't know how old Kestra is, but we can surmise how old she probably is based upon the age of the actor. The actor, Lulu Wilson, was born October 7th, 2005. So she was age 17. So she'd be age 17 now. She'd be age 17 now if she's born in 2005.
In Picard season 1, 15.
So Picard season
about
1,
the same age as her brother when he passed away.
well, she was
causing extra
right.
stress to her parents.
Right. So she in 2399 during the first season, she was approximately 14 years old, maybe 15. I think more towards 14,
somewhere in
14. But yeah, her brother died when he was 15. You're right. That was the same age. She was probably born like 2385. He was born in 2381. She was like 15 or 14. Wait, she was 14 in 2000, and he died in 2000. Oh, now
you had a good head of steam there for a while. and something's happened to it. It's like when somebody pours like a really nice glass of beer. You get a glass of beer and you get that nice big frothy head on it, and then some asshole comes by and is like, blows it off. That's what just happened to you, metaphorically.
I remember as a kid seeing those in cartoons, and like the old Warner Brothers cartoons, those big heads of beer on the cartoons. They blow them off. It looked so appetizing at the time. I was like, 5 years old. I was like, that must taste like wonderful ice cream fluff.
But everybody in real life was like, no, you don't need a bunch of head on there. It's like, yeah, but it's so foamy and good.
Flintstones used to sell cigarettes.
Oh, wow.
It's like when you have like
Are they called like
Fred Flintstone stole. So, no, they were like Winston's.
Were they like cigarettes or something?
when you pour a
No,
Coke,
they were just straight up Winston cigarettes.
when you pour a Coke and it's all foamy and like you slurp up the foam and it's all like
You can make it extra foamy by putting ice cream and root beer. So anyways, Thaddeus died when Kester was probably like 11 years old. So that's just some data. So Riker was still pretty sad during the season 1 pizza party. We were to assume he was sad then because he was empty and Troy couldn't take him anymore because she felt all the
that's
emptiness.
why he was eating so much pizza.
Yeah, he was trying to eat his problems away. He was stress eating. He was stress eating his pizza.
It's like, well, it's healthier if I make it myself. It's
But,
like, it's still a bunch of pizzas.
He's like, I can get those big pepperonis.
I love when they make comparisons from space to water. Like I was talking about the electro-space-to-pusses.
And the surfing.
The
ship was
they were
surfing.
Ship was surfing, which was a little cheesy.
Ship was surfing.
But that's why it was
cowabunga.
That's
dude.
why it was bioelectrical signals they were putting out because it's like sea creatures in space
as opposed to bioerotic.
What?
What about electroerotic?
I don't think any
bioelectric as opposed to bioerotic.
I don't think anyone uses bioeroticism as a self-defense mechanism.
Not if you have that attitude about it.
Do you want to know what sea creatures have electrical powers?
Yeah, I do.
Which ones?
Moray eels, is that the one of them? Or electric eels or whatever? Zap, zap.
What about bioluminescence?
I thought this was like one of those things where you had like a list.
I did, but I accidentally closed the tab. There's electric stingrays, electric eels, like you mentioned. There's electric catfish. There's also elephant nose.
There's electric catfish.
Elephant nose fish. I don't know what an elephant nose fish is. I think that's all of them. There's got to be more than that. But there's no electro-space-to-pusses in the sea, nor are there, but there are in space.
What are you talking about?
The
Electro-space-to-pusses.
The electro-space-to-pusses.
Those are squid.
Are they squid? I don't know. They're
more
more
encounter at Farpoint creatures.
There's squid.
Oh, that's why you kept...
Okay.
Squidalicious.
All right.
So
any other odds and ends? It is my duty as the timekeeper.
Okay.
To wrap things up.
Picard said a word funny.
All right. Which word
Although
did you
we're
say?
free temporarily from the terror of the Shrike.
Oh, temporally. As opposed
Temporarily. Temporarily.
as opposed to temporarily.
Yeah.
Temporarily.
Temporally.
Well,
Temporally. Temporally.
Temporally.
Temporally.
Temporally.
Temporally.
Temporally.
I mean, I know it's proper. I mean, it's not weird to, because
it's like
it's
tempura
just,
shrimp.
It's how you say it in the part of the world that is not my own. It's not weird. It's just different. But
He's
it's
from
interesting
Northern England.
because like everyone knows like aluminium, you know, and
Yes,
like
or laboratory.
yeah, but
or a pram.
But I never heard of
Do you have a tire in the boot of your car, sir?
Well,
do you?
Well, I mean, that's just different words. They're not pronounced differently than you know.
Do you need a truck to get that box onto that lorry?
I had to pop open the bonnet.
Do you need to wipe? You need to wipe.
You gotta check your oil by popping open the bonnet.
Do you need to wipe the feces off your fanny?
Oh no, dude!
So again,
you crossed the line.
It's time to go. That is one of the soundest indicators that it is time to go.
Okay, well here's Picard saying engage.
Yeah, boo-boo on your fanny.
Engage.
He's saying, and this is saying it weird.
Engage.
He's like, do you remember there was
saying like a monster?
There was a portable handheld system called the N-Gauge, and it didn't survive.
Recall that,
I think it was. I can't remember what its deal was. If it was a cell phone, as one of the first cell phone video games, or it was something. Or it was made by a cell phone company. I don't know. There was something weird about the N-Gauge. It didn't last. There was some shady history behind it. It's really interesting. Look it up. N-G-A-G-E. Apparently, Picard likes it too.
Engage.
All right.
Engage.
It was so interesting. It was definitely worth including at the
so
concluding
funny. I forgot
portion
to
of this
laugh.
podcast.
Farpoint.
Oh, the first song was by Slam Allen.
Oh,
Slam Allen.
that's funny.
Yes.
Bilana's on it.
Shit.
Setting the world on fire!
Yeah, what's going on?
You're my number one Dan.
All right.
You're
okay.
my number one dad.
Yes, thank you. Getting all the hits here. I think I know what happened this week. There's a part of the episode towards the end when all the crew are all talking over each other in that very professional way, where they're all like doing the readouts, and it's like you see in NASA or whatever. It's like, but it's a cacophony, but it all makes sense.
Cacophony. You mean cacophony?
Yeah, cacophony or
Sarcophagus.
It's cacophony.
That's
Sarcophagus.
we're simply mimicked that this week.
Oh, this is Picard sounding a lot. Riker sounds a lot more like pro, and Picard is sounding a lot more sad in this season. It's kind of interesting. There's been a role reversal. Like at the very beginning.
Well, I have an apology to make. I got out of line.
Stop.
Well, I have an apology to make.
I'm
I was out of line.
Stop.
Are you playing like 5 things at once?
Well, I have an apology to make.
I'm
I was out of line.
Stop.
I cut Riker's bits out, but he was still talking over top of Picard at times.
Taco Picard.
He was talking Taco Picard.
All right,
Taco.
everybody. That's been another great episode of the It's Got Star Trek podcast.
Don't come.
We're sorry that we have to leave you for this
fire.
week, but we will be back again next week.
Walkie-talkie clip.
You are the you are.
You're gonna get more. You're gonna get more of whatever this is. So this is what happens if the episode's really good. Maybe next week the episode will be really bad.
Hey, Jesse, ask me if I poo.
Do you poo?
I do.
Okay.
I knew it.
Twitter is It's Got Star Trek. Instagram It's Got Star Trek. Facebook, YouTube, all that. Rate and review.
Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt.
Like and subscribe.
Space babies.
Space babies.
Like and
babies.
subscribe.
Space babies.
Please go to the website www.itsgotstartrek.com and you can get all your little links that you need, any RSS feeds, all that other business you can do there. And otherwise, we will talk to you basically at the same time again next week.
Whichever time you
as we did this week, we're going to do that next week. So with all that said and done,
with all due respect,
goodbye.
Holograms.
Can we talk?
Officially, no.
Unofficially?
No.